Hello guys, in this video I'm going to talk about Scala for loops, which are similar to Java for loops. I'm going to talk about like how to do simple for loop, starting with the simple for loop to how we can add a condition in the for loop, how we can iterate over a map, how we can do nested for loops. So let's get started. So this is a simple for loop. As you can see, we have a list of strings with names, and we are iterating over each element in the list and printing them out. So it's straightforward. The only thing I want to show you here is there are for loops. You can implement them in multiple ways. So in this case, I listed two different ways of doing it. I want to show you how the output from these for loops. So let's go to my IntelliJ here. Let me run these for you so you can see the difference. By the way, I'm using a Scala worksheet in IntelliJ. I'm sure in Eclipse you probably have something like that. You can execute your Scala code directly. So let's run these for loops. You can see the output is a little different from here to here, but I wanted to show you different options here. Okay. So the next one is for loops with the if condition. So this is exactly the same list like before, same list like before, but we're adding if condition. So basically we're saying, hey, print the name only if name is equal to John. Here I listed three different ways of doing this. I'll run all those three and show you how they work. So this one is straightforward, basically like before, except that we added additional condition if, and then we have a block of code in the curly braces. So every time if your loop has more than one line, or if it's in the multiple lines, it's recommended that you put them in a block, in a curly braces. Sometimes you don't have to, but I think in the long run it makes it easy for others to read your code. If you sometimes people have a tendency to write a sophisticated code which they think is sophisticated and put everything in one line, but for the next guy it's hard to decipher what the code is doing. So the next other way of doing this is basically same thing, which doesn't have curly braces. Otherwise it's exactly the same thing. It's readable. It's not really bad. It's readable. But and the other way of doing this is actually putting everything in the same line. As you can see, this may be confusing. I would not recommend this. This may be confusing for some people. So basically we're doing the same thing. We're iterating over a list of names, and if the name is John, print the name. So I'll run all these three and show you how they work what they print out, what the output is. All right. As you can see, the output is same. But you got to look. This is a little bit different here. You got a lot of space here. So even though you can do all these three ways, sometimes the output you got to watch out for the way you want the output to be. So that's how the for loop with the if condition works. Next, let's go to next let's see how we can iterate over a map in for loop. So as you can see, we have this is my bad. Let me edit this one. This should be a map. So as you can see, we have a map here with the position is manager, name is John, VP David. So as you can see, the for loop here, we have two variables, P and N, for a key and value. You might as well call this K and V. I'm calling it P for position, N for name. So we have to declare two variables, and it's iterating over this map here. The first, it's going to get manager into the position and the name into N here, and it's going to print position manager, name John, position VP, name David. That's how it works. Basically, the only difference is basically you need to declare two variables. Otherwise, basically everything else is same. You can also write it. I listed one more way of doing it, which is a single line, which looks sophisticated, but I'm not sure it's clear enough. So basically, it's exactly doing the same thing, except we moved the stuff in a single line, and we do not have curly braces. It's not in a block. The other thing also to notice in this version is basically we are using a string interpolation in Scala. What it means is basically you put S and quotes, and then you put the variable names here. Instead of having two printlns, we have one here. The output is going to be this way, position manager name John. So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to show you the output from here. Here we go. So this is how it looks like. So as we talked before, when you move into single line println, the output is a little different for all of the for loops. So just to watch out for that. Otherwise, it works same way. That's that. So the next one we're gonna talk about is range. For loops with range, as you can see, it's straightforward. It's a for, and then we're running from 1 to 5, and it goes through, it iterates 5 times, and it outputs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 here. Instead of 2, when you're doing the ranges, you can also use until. Then it prints 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's with the range. Pretty straightforward. The next one we have is nested for loops. So basically, nested is basically like 2 generators. Let me show you here. So basically, for example, imagine a classroom with a teacher and who is teaching multiple classes, different students in each class. So in the simple version, we have one teacher, and students are Srini and John. We want to print out all the teachers and the respective students, basically. So first, it's gonna iterate through the list, teachers list, and then for each of them, it's gonna print all the students. That would be here. So if you have one teacher and 10 students, it's going to print one teacher, and it's going to print 10 teachers. And if you have 2 teachers, it's going to print 10 students for each of those. That's how it works. Again, in the print, we're using a string interpolation in Scala. There are multiple ways of doing this. So I have all 3 listed here. I'm gonna run this in the IntelliJ and show you how this works. Right here. All right. So as you can see, it's printing Eugene, student is Srini, and Eugene, student is John. Same teacher, 2 students. So basically same thing here in the next construct here. The only difference here is like before, we do not have we didn't put the println in a block. This is also same, except we moved the block here and we have the print outside. So there are different ways of doing this, so I listed all of these, 3 of those. That's it, guys. So I'm gonna add a link to the code, which is in my blog post, so you can get the code from there. Thank you.